Good morning, everybody, and welcome on behalf of the Ceylon College of Physicians. Welcome to the Young Physicians Forum, which runs from 11:45 until 12:45. That will be followed by the college lecture, which is in collaboration with the Sri Lanka College of Cardiologists. So the first, we have two speakers who are young physicians who will give us two talks. The first one is on the management of dyslipidemia. When should I stop statins? And that will be by Dr. BRCM Devatapitiya, who is a senior registrar in endocrinology of the National Hospital, Colombo. The second talk will be kidneys in monoclonal gammopathies, and that will be by Dr. MRF Riaza, who is a senior registrar in nephrology at National Hospital, Kandy. Uh, may I invite Dr. Devatapitiya to give the first talk, which is on management of dyslipidemia. When should I stop statins?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chairperson Sir, for that kind introduction. And I would like to thank Ceylon College of Physicians for giving me this valuable opportunity. Begin with, during my period as a senior registrar in endocrinology, I have noticed most of us know when to start statins, but do all of us know when to stop statins? So during next 20 to 25 minutes, I would like to mainly focus on this area and try to solve this problem. Okay, to begin with, I would like to start with a patient, so 50 years old, non-patient with complicated diabetic mellitus for 8 years, and had a past history of anterior STEMI 2 months back. And at that time, he was started on atorvastatin 40 milligram daily, and at that time, LDL cholesterol was 160. So after 2 months, general practitioner has arranged creatinine kinase, although patient didn't had any symptoms. So at that time, creatinine kinase was 456 and LDL cholesterol was 110. So now there is obviously elevated creatinine kinase, and GP has referred to you for further management of high creatinine kinase. So now this patient comes to you. So what will you do? That's the question. So if I give you multiple choices, would you stop statin? Would you continue statin? Would you give intermittent doses of statin? And do you reduce statin? No, you want to go ahead with alternative lipid lowering drugs. So we'll try to find out the answer for this within during next 20 to 25 minutes. Okay. So what are dyslipidemias? Dyslipidemias are disorders of lipoprotein metabolism that results in following abnormalities. So, what are lipoproteins? Just remember, these are disorders of lipoprotein, not exactly lipids. So, lipoproteins contain apolipoproteins and lipids. So, what are the main lipids? They are cholesterol and triglycerides. So, just to show this figure, chylomicron, 90% of them has triglycerides, whereas LDL, it contain only 50% of cholesterol. So how come chylomicron have 5% of cholesterol? Because it is synthesis mainly in the intestine. I'll tell you answer for that in a little while. So classification. So the patient can have isolated hypertriglyceridemia or isolated hypercholesterolemia, or both increase in cholesterol as well as triglyceride. I just want to highlight some points here. If I use this cursor, so isolated hypertriglyceridemia, it can be primary or secondary. Just note hypothyroidism here. It can cause all isolated hypertriglyceridemia, isolated hypercholesterolemia, as well as increase in both cholesterol and triglyceride. So most common cause in Sri Lankan setting for isolated hypertriglyceridemia is high carbohydrate diet. Then if you want to diagnose isolated hypertriglyceridemia from the lipid profile, the triglyceride to total cholesterol ratio should be more than 5. So if you want to diagnose isolated hypercholesterolemia, the ratio should be less than 5 with increased total cholesterol more than 300 with LDL cholesterol more than 190. So what are the indications to start statins? Statins we can start as a primary prevention of atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease or as a secondary prevention. So it all depend on this CV risk categories. So see, we have 4 risk categories according to European Society of Cardiology. They have been classified it as low risk, moderate risk, high risk and very high risk. So low risk patient, they are, you can see the calculated score is less than 1% of 10-year risk of fatal CVD. So what is this score? Is a CV risk calculator, same sort of a calculator as a Q risk score. So moderate risk patient, they can be young patient with diabetic with duration less than 10 years, score 1 to 1.5. Or they can be diabetic without any target organ damage but duration more than 10 years, or score is 5 to 10, or moderate kidney disease. Sorry, I have used this color code according to this European Society of Cardiology. If you can't see, I'm sorry about that. So the very high risk patient categorized as patient with diabetic with target organ damage or score more than 10% or severe kidney disease. Then your patient, so when can we start statins? Your patient, it can, he or she can be, we can use statins for primary prevention or secondary prevention. So if you use statins for primary prevention, first you have to see the patient's risk category. If patient is low risk, you have to start statin with LDL cholesterol is more than 190. If moderate risk category, LDL cholesterol is more than 116. High risk, LDL cholesterol more than 100. Very high risk, LDL cholesterol more than 70. And in secondary prevention, obviously they are very high risk patients. The LDL cutoff for starting treatment is 55. Okay, now you start a statin. So what are our targets? Again, it depends on our risk category. Low risk patient, our LDL target would be 116. Moderate risk patient, it should be 100. High risk patient, it should be 70. And very high risk patient, both primary prevention as well as secondary prevention, target should be 55. So how can we achieve these LDL targets? Especially in high or very high risk patients. So you have to start a high intensity statin, and then you have to see whether you have reached the LDL goal after 3 to 6 months. Then we have not reached the LDL goal, you can add ezetimibe. Or if still we have not reached the LDL cholesterol cutoff, can add PCSK9 inhibitors, but this is not available right now in Sri Lanka. So intensity of statin. So what do you mean by that? So what is our main aim in this very high risk or high risk patients? Our main aim is reduction of atherosclerotic plaque. So they have found out for significant reduction of atherosclerotic plaque disease, the LDL drop should be more than 50% from the baseline. And then they have found out to achieve this LDL target, the statin dose that we need in high intensity patient is 42 This atorvastatin dose in high intensity, it is 40 to 80 and rosuvastatin is 20 to 40. So why do you have like 2 doses 40 to 80? Because in some randomized control trials, they have found out it is 80 and some they have found out it is 40. And all these are mainly done on Western population. So let's move on to some Sri Lankan data. So this is a descriptive cross-sectional study done in 2 very high risk group patients and 1 moderate risk group patient to assess the statin doses. So in this Sri Lankan study, I just want to focus here, 25% of the population has been not started any statin, all in this two very high risk groups and one moderate risk group. So 1/4 of patients whom should be on statin has been not started on any statin. So when to stop statins? So before moving on to this topic, we have to see, does statins really cause muscle symptoms, or does it really cause elevation of liver enzymes? So this meta-analysis of this 35 double-blinded randomized control trial meta-analysis has found out when you give this is treatment group is statins, control group is placebo. So when you give statins, myalgia, CK elevation, and rhabdomyolysis, all that is statistically not significant. Statistically not significant. Only the transamination elevation is statistically higher in statin group. Then there's this another nice study which has been done to evaluate the same side effects, and that has two phases. First the blinded phase, then the non-blinded phase. So blinded phase means patient, they don't know what they are getting. So in blinded phase, there is no significance of muscle related adverse effects. But in non-blinded phase, then where the patient know what they are getting, then there is a statistically significant higher population in the statin group. So why is this discrepancy? So when patient knows what they are getting, it seems to be they have high muscle related adverse effect, where in the blinded group there is no statistical correlation. So probably it should be high risk patient. The high risk patients has been excluded from the RCT, and some of them have excluded from the running pace of RCT, or it can be due to nocebo effect. So what is nocebo effect? It's a negative expectation of the patient regarding a treatment leading to more negative effects. Right. So what about liver enzymes? So this study they have done in mildly elevated, the population is mildly elevated with patients with liver enzymes, and there were two groups, cohort 1 with statin, cohort 2 with no statin, and they have been followed up for 6 months. So that one, in this mildly elevated liver enzyme population, cohort 1 with statin, cohort 2 with no statin, there was no statistically correlation after 6 months with mild to moderate liver enzyme or severe enzyme elevation. Then this study also showed the patients with NASH after giving statin, although they have baseline elevated liver enzymes, they have significant protection from steatosis, NASH, and all stages of fibrosis in the statin group. So what are the real indication to stop statins? So why do you need to stop statins? Because of statin intolerance. So what is the definition of statin intolerance? It's the presence of clinically significant adverse effects that represent an unacceptable risk to the patient, or that may reduce the compliance with therapy. So what are the main adverse effects? That those are statin related muscle toxicity or statin related elevation of liver functions. So there is this classification for statin related muscle toxicity, which I don't want to go all of this, but just note the incidence of this statin related muscle toxicity, it is very low. So what are the risk factors? So main risk factors I just want to highlight here is hypothyroidism and the vitamin D deficiency, which is often underlooked. Right. So this is the most important part I want you all to focus. So management of statin related muscle toxicity. Just remember, the management start with the symptoms. It is not starting with the investigation. It is not starting with the creatinine kinase. So if there is new onset or worsening muscle symptom after starting statin, if it is yes, then you have to see whether those symptoms are typical for statin related muscle toxicity. So what is this typical means? It should be symmetrical, proximal low, and worse with exercise. So if it is no, probably this is not statin related muscle toxicity. So you have to consider other causes such as vitamin D deficiency or PMR. So then if what if patient is not having any symptoms, then no need to do monitors creatinine kinase. Just remember this: we don't need to monitor creatinine kinase. You should probably do a patient centered approach, which I'll be talking in next few slides. So what about this patient who are truly having muscle related symptoms due to statins? Sorry about this slide, I'll explain this to you. This looks a bit complicated, but when I explain, like, it's easy. So then you have to do creatinine kinase in this group who the symptoms are really due to statins. So if creatinine kinase uh, up to less than up to 4 times of upper limit of normal, if symptoms are tolerable, you can just continue statins providing you monitor. But if patients are having intolerable symptoms of if CK is within 4 to 10 of the upper limit of normal, you have to stop statins, but you have to stop statins only for 6 weeks. So these two groups, anyway, you have to exclude rhabdomyolysis and manage accordingly. Anyway, you have to stop statins also. Then what do you do after stop statins? Then you have to repeat creatinine kinase after 6 weeks. Then if it is normal and patient is symptom free for 2 weeks, then you can do statin breach challenge, probably statin based approach, probably with low dose of statin or intermittent dose of statin you can apply here. Then if patient is not symptom free, you have to wait for another 2 weeks when patient to become symptom free. So what about after 6 weeks also patient is having high creatinine kinase? So that should be probably you have to consider this statin induced necrotizing autoimmune myopathy. So this one you have to manage accordingly, and probably you need non-statin based approach with newer drugs like ezetimibe or PCSK9 inhibitors. Then what about if patient had recurrence of symptoms, if there is no recurrence of symptoms, then you can titrate statins and you can achieve the LDL goal. But if patient is having recurrence of symptoms, probably again you have to go for non-statin based approach with ezetimibe or PCSK9 inhibitors. So this patient based approach, it's mainly beware of nocebo effect, and it's mainly listen to your concern of your patient. So that's what I want to highlight here. Obviously, you have to assess for alternative causes also. Then statin based approach, you can give a lower dose, or you can give an intermittent dose, or you can switch to a different statin, or you can do repetitive de-challenge or re-challenge. Then non-statin based approach, you have to go for alternative lipid cholesterol lowering therapy, mainly ezetimibe or PCSK9 inhibitors. Then what about liver function? Then statin-induced liver abnormality, it can be due to statin-induced transaminaemia, and probably this is not actually a side effect, it's a class effect. Why is that? Because these statins inhibit HMG coenzyme reductase enzyme, in turn is reduce cholesterol metabolism. So cholesterol is an integral part of hepatic cell membrane. So then the hepatic cell membrane morphology will be not in a structural way, so these enzymes can leak into plasma. So what about the statin induced acute liver failure? That's dose independent effect, but it occur in 1 in a million. So how you manage that? So it's easy. If transaminase levels are less than 3, you just continue statin, but if it is more than 3 into the upper limit of normal, then you have to see, this is where we all sort of mismanage. We have to see whether there is evidence of liver failure clinically or investigationally. If direct bilirubin is normal, clinically there is no evidence of liver failure, you can probably continue statin, providing you monitor. But if there is obvious liver failure, obviously you have to stop statin and look for alternative treatment. Then the mechanism of lipid lowering agents, I just want to rush through this. Statins inhibit HMG coenzyme reductase enzyme. Ezetimibe inhibit the cholesterol absorption from the gut, but inhibiting this Niemann-Pick cholesterol transporter. So that is, so because of this transporter only, you have 5% of cholesterol in chylomicrons. Then what about this ezetimibe? So there is this meta-analysis which done to show ezetimibe significance, and it has shown it is significant reduction of mean LDL cholesterol and total cholesterol with ezetimibe monotherapy. Then what about ezetimibe plus statin? Then again there is statistically significant mean reduction of LDL cholesterol comparing to statin alone. Then this article published in NEJM, this article, the population is patients with acute coronary syndrome within last 10 days. So there are two groups, simvastatin plus ezetimibe group or simvastatin only group. And the patient has been followed up for 6 years, and they have found out there is significant reduction in mean LDL cholesterol, cardiovascular death, non-fatal and MI and stroke, and coronary revasculation in simvastatin plus ezetimibe group. So what about this PCSK9 inhibitors? So just want to explain the mechanism. Normally, normal person, this Golgi apparatus is responsible for LDL receptor formation as well as this PCSK9 enzyme formation. So when there is no PCSK inhibition, this PCSK9 inhibitor can go into this LDL receptor pit, and when it is bind to LDL receptor pits, they will internalize LDL receptor more, then the lysosomal degradation of LDL receptor is more. So what happens when you inhibit this PCSK, then the internalization and catabolism will be less of this LDL receptor. So evidence, this Fourier trial again nicely has done an established CV disease patient already on statin, and it has also found out significant reduction in LDL cholesterol, CV death and non-fatal MI and stroke. Then this study has compared evolocumab versus ezetimibe in patients who are statin intolerant. So then they have found out evolocumab is better than ezetimibe. So just to show you the cholesterol reduction, just see here PCSK9 inhibitors plus high intensity statin cause 75 reduction of LDL cholesterol. So all three together it's 85%. So what are the take home messages? So you have to prescribe statins in correct doses when indicated, and avoid monitoring of creatinine kinase and ALT/AST in asymptomatic patients, and don't stop statins unless it's clearly indicated, because the benefit outweighs the risk. So future perspectives, do we have Sri Lankan studies? So all of these studies has been done in Western population. In Western population, for significant atherosclerotic regression, the LDL cutoff is less than, the LDL drop should be more than 50%. But can we apply it to our Sri Lankan patients as well? So what are our atorvastatin doses to achieve that LDL target? So for all this, we need more research. The other one, probably we should have lipid clinics, where many of other countries, including UK, they have lipid clinics. So now I think it's time for us to start lipid clinics in our country. So I would like to take any questions if you all have.
Thank you very much, Dr. Temirapitiya. I think we have time for some questions.
Thank you very much for your comprehensive presentation. My name is Arosha Disanayaka. I'm President-elect of the CCP. My question is, now you discussed we are trying to look at when to start and when to stop.
Yes.
And we covered some adverse effects. But are there any lipid indications to stop statins?
So actually, currently it's sort of a gray area, and they have done several researches, and some research have found when the LDL is less than 30, there are some side effects, but that has been not proven. Anyway, there's another indication to lower LDL cholesterol less than 45 as well, mainly people who are having recurrent MI or recurrent stroke, recurrent CV disease. But the answer for question, it's still a gray area where some research has shown if the LDL is less than 30 or 20, there are some side effects, but others has failed to show this.
Any other questions from the audience?
Question is, now you mentioned in one state that we go for a target of LDL,
Yes.
say, depending on risk. And at another moment, you mentioned that in a high-risk patient, we are aiming at a 50% reduction of LDL. Which one actually are we targeting?
Yeah, that's also a interesting question, sir. So what in the European Society of Cardiology guidelines, what they recommend is both. You should have a 50% reduction as well as LDL cutoff is less than 55. So they recommend both, not one. And so 50% reduction and LDL cutoff less than 55. They recommend both.
Say that coenzyme Q
Yes,
has
sir.
any
So,
benefits?
sir,
Did you mention?
coenzyme Q, they have done research, but they have not find out any significant benefit from that. So they are just using as an accessory treatment, not for the direct specific treatment.
Any further questions from the audience? So in the absence of further questions, I would like to thank Dr. Demetapitiya for that excellent presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.